Nice. Okay, so today I'm going to go through an old recurring nightmare that I had when I first came back from operations, and then later in 2016, 2017, it started again. So it was a nightmare that I used to have at night time, and then the most effect it took on me was mostly in the daytime. When I talk about like having nightmares and stuff, the nightmares were hard to deal with, but to be honest, in my personal experience, I found it harder to deal with the daytime issues than I did the nighttime. I found it harder to either shake them off or either to because you're in natural surroundings when when you're dealing with it in the daytime. Whereas at nighttime, you might either be on your own or maybe if it's just your partner that you've got to deal with. But in the daytime, you might be at work or something. So I'm going to talk through that. I'll tell you about the story on patrol and what actually happened. I'll tell you about what part of it affected me, how I think it affected me, and then the patrol actually ended with quite a couple of funny stories. So once I've told you about how it affected me in that sense, we'll talk about. Then we'll talk about I'll tell you how the rest of the patrol finished. It was a good one. So if you are listening, can if you can subscribe to me YouTube? It's free. Take you 2 minutes. That'd be great. Long-term plan. It will really help out with the veteran retreats. So I was in 2012, around January time 2012, and we were up with A Company. No, wrong. It was around November time. We was with A Company up in Nari Siraj North, and we was out producing. It was on a company op, and my platoon was 8 Platoon Bravo multiple, and we was providing southern cordon for the op as they done an op within the village. So we've moved into position, and I was a Lance Jack at the time. I had my we had an interpreter, Fahim, and he was next to me. He's part of the funny story later on. Well, funny, maybe not funny for some people, but yeah. So he was next to me on the patrol. So we've moved into position. We've gone firm, and when you go firm, obviously you got to think when you're in Afghanistan, you got so much weight on your back. So when I was on patrol at the time, I got your radio, you got all your ammunition, you got everything that you need on whilst you're out on patrol. So you're definitely not traveling light. Yup. So we've gone firm into position, and we've got something called ICOM out there. So it's basically a handheld walkie-talkie, handheld radio, basically, if you want to imagine it like that. And the interpreter will carry this around, and on that we can gain access to the Taliban's communications, so we can hear all of their messages sent over their radios. Now, anyone that's been to Afghanistan will know that the interpreters, you can get good ones, bad ones. Now, we had an okay interpreter. It was okay. Spoke the language, absolutely fine. However, sometimes when they go firm, they can change the frequency on these radios, which then, oh Jesus Christ, which then means that they can just access normal radio. And my interpreter sat there, and he's got his normal radio on, so we're just listening to Afghan music at this time. And I'm telling him, turn your fucking radio off, turn your fucking radio off. Put it on the channel. And he's not listening. And we later found out that in this moment, well, before we knew it, so we've gone firm, and this is another point that caught me out being lazy. Definitely caught me out. But when we go on patrol in Afghanistan, you've got so much weight on your back, and when you go firm, we always train, take a knee, don't be lazy. And, I preach it so many times to my blokes, don't be lazy, and preach it when you're teaching, don't be lazy, don't be lazy. But I was on my arse, sat down, I wasn't on a knee. And so I'm sat on my arse, interpreter sat next to me, I've got all my weight on my back, he hasn't got anything on his back, he's only got his body armour. And then out of nowhere, there's been a PKM burst, like a machine gun fire, maybe like 20, 30 metres away from us. This guy's just popped up outside of a ditch, and he's just shot at the floor and just followed it all the way up, like all the way up towards us, and I could see it coming towards us. we both got up to get out of the way, but we both turned the same way. And because we bumped into each other, I had all my weight on my back, so I ended up falling back onto my day sack. Obviously, the rounds are still pinging over us. The whole multiples got into the ditch and got into cover. And I've decided I need to just roll and get into that ditch. So I've started rolling. But across the top of my day sack, when you go out on patrol in Afghanistan, again, just another thing we have to carry. When to clear your lanes, you have to have a Valen, which is like basically detect IEDs that might have been buried. I had the spare one across the top of my day sack, so it was folded up. You can imagine, just folded up into half like a mop, folded up across the top of my day sack. And so as I've rolled, I've gone to roll into the ditch, and I've gone to roll into the ditch, and my day sack, the Valen's got caught onto a tree. So as I've gone to fall into the ditch, I've gone in, and I'm just stuck on my side, and I'm trying to shake, and there's the rounds are just like pinging right in front of my face. And I remember like feeling the dirt hit my face, and it was this moment that was the part that would stick with me for many years, really. In that moment, like I kind of like related it very much to when I was younger, and I was going to tell this because this is exactly how I related it. Was when I was younger, I remember waking up as a child, and my scared of the dark, so I used to sleep with the door open, just maybe like a couple of like 10 inches or whatever. And I remember waking up when I was younger, and my dad must have just come up to check on me, and I remember waking up and seeing just a figure, like a silhouette, stood in the light with the light in the background. And I remember in that moment squeezing, like being shit scared. And I remember in that very moment when I remember in that very moment that I remember squeezing so hard that's exactly what I felt like. So yeah, the branch of whatever happened then ended up giving way, and I ended up dropping into the ditch. And so I had a little Nepalese guy, Gurkha lad, with me. He was the guy just in front of me on the patrol, but he was tiny. He's only like 4.5 foot or something like this. And the ditch that we fell into, it was probably up to like my chest in water. So poor little Rai, as soon as I'd fallen into the ditch, little Rai's there going, Sammy, Sammy, Sammy. So I've had to grab him and chuck him onto my side, and then put him onto the bank so he can survive. So yeah, I didn't really get to think about that moment so much there and then in the moment, but yeah. So that split second moment that affected me. The reason why it's different to my other nightmares that I had when I came back when my platoon sergeant got blown up was because I never replayed this moment as in like a full, it wasn't any sections. It was literally just those split seconds that I would find myself in when I got back, be it daytime or nighttime when I woke up. I'd find myself in that split moment, and I wouldn't be forward of that moment or behind that moment anytime before that moment. I would just sit in that moment, and that was it. I wouldn't think of any different scenarios. I wasn't, like replaying anything else. I would just sit in that split second of squeezing really tight, as if I was like back in the bed as a child. And yeah, that's why it was really different for me. When I came back, the daytimes, that's why I found the daytime so hard, because I would be like, if you're at work or something like this, I feel like the physical body reactions, it's not just like you're sat there just thinking about it, you sit there, you don't just get sweaty hands, your heart's racing, you're completely zoned out, you're not really in control of being able to control that moment. Like, it takes an awful lot of skill and practice to be able to pull yourself back from those moments, which is where the CBT therapists come in. They're the ones that give you those tools to be able to manage those moments. Whereas I believe the other trauma-based therapy is what you need to go through in order to be able to process those moments to then give you that distance between being able to think about that scenario or situation without having these emotional and physical reactions to it. So yeah, the daytimes I'd be thinking about it quite uncontrollably. I remember like 2016 when I first left, I got stuck at the traffic lights, and I didn't realize I was, you know, red light and then gone green, and I didn't realize until the guy be out the back behind me's got out, and you know, fucking told me to move on. But obviously, he didn't realize that I was just sat there, just stuck in that moment, just thinking about, not even thinking about anything really, just being in that moment. I wasn't thinking about dying. I wasn't thinking about anything other than just that pure feeling, you know, that feeling of just being. Maybe that is just a moments before you felt like that was gonna be it. But yeah, that's why it was so different to the other ones, you know. And if in the daytime, sometimes it'd be like you're thinking about it, but you don't want to think about it, and you'd physically have to shake it off. It wouldn't be like just to stop thinking about it and you're okay, you know. You have to physically snap yourself out of it. And there's times when people might see you doing this and they're like, "You're all right," and they might laugh, you know. Similar to like when you have a cold shiver and you go, "Ugh," or something like this, but you shake it off and then they go, "You're all right," and you're like, "Yeah, I'm good, yeah, good." But little do they know, you're like, you was just sat in that absolute terrible moment, and you've got to try and either act normal, or depending on who it is, you know, it can catch you in any kind of situation, or you never know who you're going to be with when it happens. So, well, it can be like you can feel so cold or numb, or like just not connected to people that you're around, especially when it comes to like, when you're living with family or anything like this. It can be quite hard to think about or be in those moments and then come out of them and just pretend like everything's okay, or just go back into normal conversation. At night time it was similar, but I wouldn't obviously be thinking about it as much, as in the sense of I would wake up and it would just be me and my ex-partner at the time, or 2012 it was just myself. I stayed at my dad's when I come back from tour. But yeah, at night time it would just be waking up and I'd just be in that moment, and I know that I'd have been in it for a long time just because I'd be soaking wet, and you can just feel it, you know. It's tiring. It's hard on not only yourself, but also if you have got relationships, it's hard on everybody. It's the nighttime ones that you can't hide from your relationships if you're, you know, if you're in a relationship. But yeah, both time, whether it's daytime or nighttime, the both thing they had in common was I didn't replay anything. It was always just waking up in that one split moment. Yeah, and that was it. Same bodily reactions for years. Many years I had the same reactions until I went through EMDR therapy in 2016, 17, 18 was when I started that, and started 2018 EMDR therapy. I think going through EMDR therapy and going through that whole process was what going through the whole patrol, and help me process that part a lot more. I haven't really spoken about it so much in CBT therapy. I've been speaking about other things. But yeah, in 2012 when I first came back, that was probably when it was at its peak. It was really at its worst. Was 2012 when I first came home. Didn't know what to do with it when I was waking up. It was really scary. I was on my own. I'd say 2012. This is just like when we came back from tour, you know, like around April 2012, and then it was quite bad when we came back from tour in 2012. We had it was actually in the newspaper. We got it was in the if you was to Google Daily Star Jodie Samways, you would see this patrol that I'm talking about. We was in contact for like maybe about 2.5 to 2 hours or something like this. We was pretty heavy contact, and yeah, it was one of the heavier contacts that I had whilst I was in Afghanistan. But yeah, it was in the newspaper if you do want to check it out. We used quite a bit of ammunition in it. So yeah, it's bad in 2012. It was in the newspaper, and it was kind of like people were saying like well done to me and stuff like this, and saying like, oh, you should be proud. But for me, it was like I was still living in that moment, so I still had that real terrible section from it, whereas other people were saying, oh, you should be proud, and family were proud of me and stuff. And I get that why people were proud of it, or why my family would see it as being proud. But yeah, it's just a hard one, you know, when you got we're on fire. Yeah, when your family's saying good, but I think I buried it so deep, like 2013, 2015. I had to go on juniors, went away in God knows how many exercises. Spent half of most of 2013 away with the army, which isn't a bad thing, you know. But it's why I worry so much about my friends that are still serving, just because I think, you know, I managed to bury it for so long whilst I was in the army because I was still in the army. So, you know, it's probably given me a good drive to do this, just to make them aware of, like, when they do leave, if they do start feeling these symptoms, and, you know, it's okay, and they can go get the help they need. But I didn't go and get help for this until 2015, when I first went to DCMH. And moments like this is like easy for people to say, like, why don't you just forget about it? Or, you know, how do you remember those moments so well? And it's because they kind of become like anniversaries, you know, they become more important, or not more important, they become more memorable, those specific dates, than they do like birthdays or any other significant date in someone's life. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that do remember specific dates from tour, and they probably struggle with their own kids' birthdays, you know, or the date they got married, or the date they asked their missus to marry them or something. They probably don't remember that date, but they probably got a fair few significant dates from tour in their minds somewhere. Yeah. I think those kind of moments, like these kind of moments when you, like, for me to experience that split second moment, it's probably, so my platoon sergeant getting blown up was a different type of feeling to this. I think me in that split second moment was more of me being very, very fucking close to losing my life. And I think from coming out of there, that moment's probably gave me an awful lot of appreciation for life, a lot more in the moments when I think about it, be a lot more grateful, show a lot of gratitude for making it through that. Made me a lot more self-reflective, turned me into an introvert for a few years, which is also something that I found having PTSD done to me, was turn me into an introvert, which isn't the greatest, because I'm not an introvert, I'm an extrovert, and I've never been an introvert. So you battling that at the same time. So I'll finish off the patrol. I just want to say that was the moment that, you know, that really stuck with me from that patrol. It stuck with me for many years. I had to go through a lot of therapy about it, and yeah. So the patrol finished. So I fell into the water, and then Rye got Rye to the bank, chucked him on the bank. So we was getting engaged by maybe like 5 or 6 different firing points, not too far away from us. We had something called I-Star up in the air, and they were reporting. I-Star is like basically a big balloon, basically, that they send up in the air aside to a big attachment, and it's got surveillance on the bottom of it, or you can see out to like fucking God knows, like 5K or something like this. So yeah, we had I-Star reporting on their firing positions. So we were engaging back for quite a while, but we had to get out of this ditch, and this ditch was really, really, really fucking deep. So, and we had to get out of this ditch in order to be able to. We was fighting out towards my front now, and then we had to peel out and peel to the left. So every man had to peel around so we could come around the back of a compound, because there's a building just behind us. So we got out of the ditch and started peeling around the back. And initially, the interpreter Fahim, he wouldn't get out of the ditch. So everyone's going, Fahim, get out the fucking ditch, get out the fucking ditch, and he's no. So anyway, we start peeling around, managed to start getting out, start peeling. This is still while, you know, heavily under fire, heavily engaging back, and Fahim was still refusing to stand up and run. So as we're firing and peeling around, taking like one man at a time, he's got out of the ditch here, and he, on your body armor, you got the front plates, which obviously go all the way across, but then you also got side plates, and it was the side plates that fucked him up. So he didn't want to run, so he started trying to roll like a sausage. But because his side plates were in, he was going up and then falling flat, and up and falling flat, and all the blokes are running past him going, Fahim, get the fuck up! Fahim, get the fuck out of it! And then as we've that was fucking hilarious for us. And in that newspaper article, it says that Fahim was a good interpreter, and he came out on patrol the next day. He didn't come back out, bless him. That was him finished after that one. He didn't want to come back out, but I understand why. It was a very close one for him. So yeah, and then as I said, we've started peeling around, and our full screw Chris Rain was stacked up against the wall, ready with a 66 to as the last man come round. He was going to fire a 66 into position, just give us a bit of time to get into position, give him a bit more cover moving, and so he's stacked up ready with it. Last man's come in, and you can picture it's like on an L shape of a wall, and we've come around the corner. Chris is on the corner of it, and I've stacked in. Dave Job and then Joel stacked in. So we're all in the corner. Chris has gone out 66, and we've looked down, and we stood. We didn't realise that someone someone had scooped all the ashes from their fire and chucked it all in his corner. So we're like shin deep in ashes, like fire ash. And Chris fucking fires this 66, and this fucking big old black cloud of smoke just goes boom, straight all over me, Job, Joel, and then Job's like, "Fucking hell!" Uh, those little funny moments in patrol, in the moment they're fucking heavy, you know. Like if can be a bit funny to look back at and know that those little funny moments in such a terrible and what some would say is a terrible experience were there are bits that you can look back at and laugh at. But we actually ended up getting escorted back in by an Apache. It was a fucking decent heavy contact, but then again I say decent. Something bad had happened. I don't know how decent it would have been, but yeah, that's it. So that was the today's episode. If you can subscribe, I'm gonna next weekend. I'm going to do my first recce on put up a sandbag retreats, and we will get more info on that. I'll tell you more about it and how I hope that I can intertwine it with the YouTube, make it documented, veteran retreats, and eventually, hopefully, it can start funding itself. You know, content, reproduce, reinvest, and you know, the big long-term goal would be funded veteran retreats. Maybe not at the start, but it'll definitely get there. Uh, yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode, guys. If you can subscribe, then please do. It will take 2 minutes and it doesn't cost a penny. Thank you very much. Nice short one today.